Hello, my name is Ricky Brown. I came to Boys to Men Sanctuary for the Youth in 2010. I live right behind the center, and I used to use drugs very, very heavy. There wasn't a day go by that I did not use drugs and alcohol. And I kept coming over in the back to the center, and I met Miss Jean Hutley. Well, Jean used to actually feed the neighborhood and always had something for the young guys in the neighborhood to do. She told me this was a organization called Boys to Men Sanctuary for the Youth, and we cater to guys 8 to 18 years old. And at this time, I was probably about 45, 40, 44, 45 years old. Well, I kept coming around the center and pleaded with Miss Jean because she was always feeding the guys, and I would come after a real bad day of drug binging over and over, and I always knew there was somewhere for me to come eat. I would come to the center and get me something to eat in the morning. Around 2 or 3 o'clock in the evening, I pop back up at the center and get me something to eat around 12 or 1 o'clock. And then about 6 o'clock, I would come back and do the same thing. So one day I asked Miss Jean, I was like, could I have a job? And this was a nonprofit organization, and she didn't have no one on the payroll. She was doing it all by herself. So I started cleaning up, volunteering, cleaning up the building, and Miss Jean actually made me feel welcome. She actually had something for me to do to help me. Unfortunately enough, I was still using drugs and alcohol. And one day, it got in my spirit to share with her my drug addiction and my problem. Well, Miss Jean started caring more about me and started putting more time in me. Even though I wasn't 18, I was older than 18 to the limit of the Boys and Men Sanctuary for the Youth requirement. I had like a 16-year-old mind at the age of 45. Well, Miss Jean encouraged me to work and actually, you know, the more I came around here, the more it actually made me want to take a bath. I wouldn't bathe for 2, 3 days, sometimes weeks, sometimes 2 and 3 weeks. Well, the more I came around and started working around Miss Jean and meeting other people, the more I felt like, I had a purpose. When I became Miss Jean maintenance man, I started cleaning up, and she asked me what did I have a passion to do, and my passion was to cook. When I became 33 years old, I wanted to become a renowned chef for Epcot Center. I opened up the Marriott Marquis in 1982. I graduated from Culinary Arts Institute of America. I'm sorry. I opened up the Marriott Marquis in 1986. I went to school in Culinary Arts Institute of America, Inglewood, California. I was one of the chefs for the Marriott Marquis downtown when they built it on Pompanos Restaurant. Well, as times go by, my drug addiction it increased and my life became very, very unmanageable. But Miss Jean never gave up faith in me. She always found something for me to do. And I felt like as long as I was at the center, that was one extra hour I had not to do drugs. I can remember one day that Miss Jean was getting ready to leave and she wouldn't be at the center for a whole entire day. And I had panicked because I didn't know what I was going to do for that day. And Miss Jean left me in the building. She entrusted in me. She had a lot of stuff in the building. At any given time, I could have stole just about everything out the building and went and used drugs and alcohol. But with the trust from a person like Jean Hutley, I didn't do it. And then she came and she said, well, let's try to put you in this particular program, which it lasts with me for about 7 days. The program, I just could not receive to get into it. Actually, I guess I wasn't ready to stop. Within the following week, I came back to Miss Jean at the center, and I told her I just couldn't do the program. So I was determined then to get my life together because I had someone who really cared about me, and she was behind me. Well, Miss Jean put me in some mentoring program. That's where I met Brian Hutley and some more other people. And she put me in a mentor program right here at Lane Carson Park. Then I received my very first job. I worked for a construction company right down the street. Boys and Men Sanctuary for the Youth bought me boots, bought me cargo pants, and bought me a tool belt. I never forget it. That was the first thing I actually owned of my own. I can also remember the time that they took me to get a haircut so I could go to the interview to get the job. Well, after that, I stuck around for about December 28th, 2012. And Miss Jean actually helped me get into a program called Making Away Housing Inc. This is when my recovery really started and I become clean and sober. However, I suffered with HIV for 30 years today. When I first came and I told Miss Jean I was suffering with HIV, she encouraged me to start going back to the doctor, seeing a primary care, and all of this. So I had so much faith and belief in Miss Jean and the organization. I started going to the doctor and taking care of myself. I almost died. I almost died because I had a T cell count of 2. Through the prayers of Miss Jean and her encouragement for me to go back and forth to the doctor, I began to get my health together. I went to Making Away Housing, like I said, December the 28th, 2012, and I started my process there. After a while, I began to do the right thing, and then I was encouraged to go into my passion, which was cooking. Miss Jean let me cook down to the center for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I used to cook meals for the guys. After this, I woke up an old spirit of culinary skills, and then I went and got my very first job at just around the corner, downtown Atlanta, as a chef. Within the following year, I became the executive chef for the restaurant downtown. I also continued with Boston Men Sanctuary for the Youth, and continued to be a spiritual guide and alumni of this organization. However, I was blessed to receive a 3-year medallion from 3 Year Clean and Serene and Sober, and I also was blessed with a new family, with a 3-year-old daughter and 2 newborn twins. None of this could be possible if Boston Men Sanctuary for the Youth wasn't here to give me any guidance and guidelines for my future into becoming a real man. Today, I am willing and I'm ready to be a mentor and to give back to Boys and Men Sanctuary for the Youth, and to help all of the other young guys who are coming up with issues of drugs and alcohol, maybe HIV, cancer, or any other type of disease. I also, through Boys and Men Sanctuary for the Youth, I learned how to read. I couldn't read very good when I first got here because drugs and alcohol had actually distorted my thinking and my brain. Now today, I also teach literacy classes at Making Away Housing, and I am a strong believer in, if you believe in something and someone believes in you, you can make it. Thank you very much.